Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Keisha J. Kelly coming straight out of ATL, the CEO and founder of Black College Experience over in Baton Rouge. I have my co-host, Thomas Derek, doing the most, Thomas, as I say.
Oh my
His
God.
team just secured a win, and they are headed to Super Bowl, so I know he's lit. Man, we have taken a well-needed vacation. We've been off almost a month. Can't believe it's been almost a month. But here we are. We ready to roll this thing. We got a really hot lineup. We had a lot of stuff that happened over in Black College Sports. But let me just go ahead and give y'all the number. If you're trying to call in, because we want some feedback tonight, that number is 971-357-2887, PIN number 49170. And Derek will bring you in. Derek, what's going on in Baton Rouge?
Man, it's crazy weather down here. It's cold, it rains, but hey, there's nothing that can put a damper on my day, and you know why. You know why?
Tell us about it.
Tell you about it? Oh man. Well, if anybody who has ever known me all my life, I have been a diehard fan of the Kansas City Chiefs. I became a Kansas City Chiefs fan when I was 9 years old. I'm 39. This is the first time that my Chiefs have advanced to the Super Bowl in my lifetime. 30 years in my life, 30 years of my Chiefs fandom, 50 years total since the Chiefs have been to a Super Bowl. And I know you hear that Tomahawk chop music, but that is not the Alcorn Brave Tomahawk chop. That is a Tomahawk chop of the Kansas City Chiefs. That's the music they play in Arrowhead Stadium, and that's all you could hear after the Chiefs defeat the Tennessee Titans to head back to the Super Bowl for the first time in 50 years and 30 years of my fandom. I'm excited. I'm happy. There's only one thing that kind of puts a damper on this. My sister, who is a diehard New England Patriots fan, is up in heaven, and I cannot gloat. That's the only thing that kind of, hey, we and her always went back and forth. She's a Jackson State Tiger. I'm a Valley Delta Devil. I was a Bulls fan. She was a Knicks fan. We have never had the same team ever on anything. So, rest in heaven, Kiki. I'm still going to talk noise. My Chiefs in the Super Bowl, your Patriots at home. What you think about that, Kels?
Well, my Saints been at home, so, I really don't care. My Saints been out of it for a minute, but it is great to see. I say it's a breath of fresh air when you bring in another, different team. So, I think it's pretty good to see another set of people going to see Kansas City. Depends on who will win. 49ers or the Packers. You can see somebody different in the Super Bowl. Aside from the Patriots every year, not taking nothing from them, but it's just good to see different people playing in the Super Bowl this year. And again, congratulations to Mahomes for making it to Super Bowl. And they're saying that they think it's gonna be, like the very first Super Bowl. The Packers and the Chiefs, and we know the State Farm, we know the whole commercial, the whole jig. So we're not going to hold it up. We're going to hop into this Black College Sports. We had a lot of stuff going on. So we're going to start it off at the top of the hour. We're going to speak on the legacy of Roscoe Nance, who passed away. If you want to start with that, that's on you.
Roscoe Nance is a journalist that started out, basically, he built his career at the Clarion Ledger. He went on to cover the NBA, not only just HBCUs. I mean, he basically made his name covering Jackson State, and he passed away, and he's a HBCU media trailblazer. I first found out about his passing, seeing Mark Gray post about it, and I was like, I know that name. I was like, oh, yes, this is the guy who used to work for the Clarion Ledger. So, I mean, when you lose someone who helped so many people, as far as get into the game of media, he is someone that I would have loved to have had a chance to meet, because with me being still a rookie in media, having someone like him as a mentor would have been unbelievable. Unfortunately for me, I don't get the great opportunity to meet him because he has gone on with God. I mean, he just some of his exploits. He made his mark on the conference as a reporter for the Trailblazer from 1978 to 1985. He went on to USA Today, where he covered the NBA for 15 seasons. So that's probably where I know him from reading about the NBA. But, I mean, to have someone who started his career in my hometown, for my hometown newspaper, covering Jackson State, covering HBCUs, I mean, to me, that's an awesome feat for him. And unfortunately, he passed away at 71 years old at his home on Thursday before January 9th. So it's when you lose someone like a Roscoe Nance, who meant so much to HBCUs and just to sports journalism as a whole, it sits with you. And just reading about his legacy, reading about where he got his start, reading about how he helped basically give exposure to Jackson State through his writings. I mean, it just really hit my heart. Like, man, I would have loved to have met him and talked with him and just maybe try to see what could I glean from someone like him to help me as I still learn more about sports media. Kels?
I think in this sense, again, you talk about somebody like him, and, he is, for people who don't know, he is a graduate of Tuskegee University. He was also inducted into the SWAC Hall of Fame in 2015. So, and that's just, he made his mark as a conference reporter. Clarion Ledger again, that's out of Jackson, Mississippi, which was from 1978 to 1985. And then, of course, he moved on to USA Today, where he covered the NBA for 15 seasons. So when you talk about somebody with that type of caliber coming out of the HBCU, covering all of those athletics, bringing all that exposure to Jackson State and going on to bigger things, that is, you lost an icon, and then you lost a monumental person that started from hometown and built his legacy. And it's one of those things you hate that you didn't come in contact with those people. You hate that you didn't get to at least say hi or at least get to meet those people. And I have a person like that same case scenario. One of my alums, her father was a historian for Southern Athletics. And I always said, we're going to interview your dad. Because it was nothing Southern University athletics, nothing that came through Southern that he did not know for the athletic department, nothing. So I said, we're going to interview Dr. Gibson one day. And unfortunately, last year he passed away. And so it was one of those cases where you're just like, you never get a chance to talk to these great people, but you just know what a great job they did, what an inspiration they were on journalism, on in sports, especially to not just HBCU sports, but for him to be able to expand as a journalist and to go over and do other things. It speaks a lot for him as a person.
Exactly. So even though we're a little late, he passed away in like the first week of January. We've been on vacation, but you have to talk about Roscoe Nance and the legacy that he leaves as far as being a journalist and also an HBCU and SWAC icon.
Correct. Absolutely. So, again, you celebrate his legacy, you celebrate his memory, and although, he's gone, we'll celebrate that. So let's hop into this next thing. Kaylin Newton. For everybody that's been Kaylin Newton, it's been a fiasco that one thing led to another over at Howard University. And the thing is that we started off with Kaylin Newton. He was doing well, but then this past season, 2019 season, things just kind of went wayward, and he went into the transfer portal. And now he started taking some visits to some other schools. Now, I'm always for the HBCUs. Again, you got to do what you got to do. So Kalen Newton, which of course is the younger brother of Cam Newton, which Cam Newton also was I think he got the Walter Payton Man of the Year award today as well. He did take a visit to Penn State. So that's what 247 Sports is reporting, that he's planning on visiting Penn State last weekend. After he entered his name into the NCAA transfer portal after making 4 appearances for Howard, which competes at the FCS level. Now, in those 4 appearances, again, in 2019, he completed 65 of his 127 pass attempts for 815 yards, 6 scores, and 3 interceptions. He only played 4 games to preserve his red shirt and second-year eligibility after he graduates from Howard, which is this upcoming May. What do you think about him going to Penn State to visit? Is that a good look, or could he have gone somewhere else?
Well, here's the thing, and I found something out that I didn't know about. I was told that Kalen Newton walked on to Howard, and I didn't know that. I was in one of the social media groups, and we were talking about his visits, starting his visits, and he was like, "Yeah, Kalen Newton walked on to Howard." And I was like kind of shocked. I'm like, well, he walked on and he stole the show. So with him having the high profile older brother, I mean, you would have thought he would have been a highly recruited athlete. But if he walked on to Howard, I'm gonna have to look at his recruiting profile and see exactly what offers he had. But going to Penn State is a pretty successful Power 5 program. And they have a guy who's returning at quarterback. So I would like for him to go somewhere. If he's going to try to go to the FBS level from an HBCU, you might want to go somewhere that doesn't have a sitting quarterback, because I would hate for him to – I'm not going to say he can't win the job, but this guy just finished out his first year starting. So he's entrenched as a starter for the next 2 years. And I think that's how many years of eligibility that Newton has left. So you want to go somewhere where you can at least get on the field, or maybe he's going to switch positions. I would love for him to stay in the HBCU ranks, because he made his name in the HBCU ranks. He made his name at Howard, provided us some memorable moments for us to talk about. I would love to have him create some more memorable HBCU moments, because we know those FBS schools, they have plenty of superstars to make memorable moments. We don't need our superstars to leave the HBCU ranks to go make memorable moments there. And, I do have a team that I root for, FBS. But if they ever play Valley, I'm rooting for Valley. I never root against my Delta Devils. So, Kalen Newton, I know you want to play at the highest level. Every athlete deserves a chance to see how they measure up. It's up to you to decide where you want to go, where you want to finish out your career. But if you're going to go up to the FBS from FCS, try to find a destination where you will have a real chance to compete for the job. It's plenty of HBCUs that can use your talents, namely my Delta Devils. I mean, I want to be greedy. I want all the transfers, but unfortunately, we are in the middle of nowhere, so it'll be hard for us to get a transfer with the caliber of Kalen Newton. But I'm looking forward to see where he ends up. I'm going to be a fan of his simply because of the memories that he created for me, being a member of the HBCU media and seeing him lead an HBCU past an FBS squad. I will never forget that. Kels.
All right, so let's go ahead and take a commercial break, and we'll keep rolling on what's going on in the Black College Experience. So let's take a commercial break, and we'll be back to talk about some other things that's going on and some players that have declared for the draft.
All right, we'll be right back in 31 seconds with more Black College Experience.
I already knew that I was going to go to college, from a young age. I definitely want to major in political science. After that, I'm going to get my law degree. Then I'm going to come back to Detroit, boost the economy, become the mayor or something, try to make the situation better for other people. I feel like I owe it to the city. I'm determined. It's gonna happen. My name is Justin, and I am your dividend.
All right, we're back with more Black College Experience. Take it away, Kels.
All right, so we just wrapped up talking about Kalen Newton. Going to be interested to see where he ends. As you said, and I totally agree, we want him to stay in the HBCU realm because you got your taste of it, so we want you to stay here. But if it does not work out, if where Penn State is where you're going, the best of luck. Let's hop over here. A lot of times we don't get consistent in certain things. We're very consistent with the SWAC. We know the SWAC because we're both SWAC made. We know what's going on in the MEAC. We know what's going on in the SEAC. A lot of times we do not talk about the CIAA. And I made this clear earlier. I need people to really, really start paying attention to the CIAA, not only for football, but also for basketball, because they're about to make room with basketball and with football. So looking over here with Virginia Union, Tavius Taylor is leaving Virginia Union early to enter into the 2020 draft. Now, I had a guy was saying, why should he go now? And he goes into this whole thing. And my thing is anytime a kid declares for a draft, that's their personal business. Whatever they choose to do, that's on them. You can't tell somebody when they shouldn't, or just because they're an HBCU, they shouldn't declare for the draft. But this kid, in fact, it says a few days after Virginia Union running back signed a pro deal, of course, he decided to pursue his dreams a year earlier. So, again, Virginia Union running back Tavius Taylor has announced he will forego his final season of college eligibility to enter into the 2020 NFL draft. What do you think about this?
Well, when I first saw this, I was a little perturbed because he has another year left. Now, he's taking the route that Darrell Johnson took for North Carolina A&T. He entered the draft as a junior, and he was a 7th-round draft pick. I'm going to have to look and see exactly how his rookie year went. This young man has a year of eligibility, and a lot of people are saying, oh, your statistics declined, which they did. And he has a year of eligibility left coming out of a Division II HBCU. But Amir Hinton, coming out of a Division II HBCU shop, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kels, shop.
Correct. Shaw University basketball.
And, he entered the draft, and he went undrafted, but he's been doing his thing with the New York Knicks G League franchise. The difference between NBA and NFL is the NFL does not have a G League franchise. So while I'm proud of this young man for betting on himself, I hope he works extra hard to prove himself. I hope someone gives him an opportunity to maybe get an invite to the combine. If he's declared, I mean, right now, tomorrow is the deadline to withdraw your name. So if he has not withdrawn his name from the draft, he's stuck in the draft. And whomever his agent is, you need to work hard to get this young man an invite to the combine. You need to showcase some film, pull some strings to get this young man an invite to the combine. Here's the thing. I don't know why this young man is choosing to leave the NFL, leave college early to go to the NFL out of Division II HBCU. But Johnston had some hype around his decision. I mean, he competes in FCS Division I, and he had scouts looking at him, because he had been playing against Brandon Parker, Big Stuff Parker, for a couple of years. So when scouts came to see Brandon Parker, they saw Darrell Johnston, and they saw what he was able to do against Brandon Big Stuff Parker at North Carolina A&T. So they probably got in his ear that, man, you have talent to probably make it in the NFL. And that's probably why he decided to declare, because scouts had been watching Parker and they had been watching him. Now, I don't know if anybody's been watching this young man, but whoever his agent is, they need to make sure they get this guy in front of NFL GMs, work hard to get this guy an invite to the combine. I mean, it's very, very hard for HBCU athletes to get an invite to the combine. More of our HBCU athletes deserve invites to the combine to show off their skill set. This young man, if he's declaring for the draft as a junior, his agent needs to be working hard to get him an invite to the NFL combine so he can show off his skills. Don't necessarily know if that's going to happen, but Taylor, if that's what you feel you want to do, if you don't make it in the NFL, they have the Canadian Football League and they have the new XFL. But I'm hoping that you get a chance to showcase your skill set in the NFL, because if this gamble pays off, it's a win for him and it's a win for HBCUs. Kels?
Absolutely, it is, and again, we'll see where it is, we'll see what happens. And I think one of the things that you said that was really important, and I'll bring this into the fold. A lot of times we don't understand how important it is to get our client in front of these scouts. We don't understand that as the agent. We don't understand how important it is to get them these opportunities, no matter how big, no matter how small, they need those opportunities. If you look at things like you talk about the combine, you talk about the Senior Bowl, you talk about the East-West, you talk about the HBCU Spirit of America Bowl. These are opportunities specifically, specifically the HBCU Spirit of America Bowl. These are opportunities. There's an HBCU showcase where even though it's HBCU athletes, they're still representatives from NFL teams out there. And one of the things I like for people to understand and realize that the NFL is not your only route. You do have the Canadian Football League, and it's right under the NFL. You do have the XFL. You had all of these different levels of football. And the thing is that, again, I got my start in arena football. It was AFL too at the time, and then it went to AFL. So I got my start in arena football. That's where my passion came from, and that was years ago. So there are different levels of football that you can take up on. But if that's the route that he chooses to take, we just gonna hope for the best and hope that it works out. So moving right along.
Well, before we move on, I just happen to keep scrolling down on that because as I mentioned, the agent, he's represented by priority athletes. Kels, you know me. I am not ashamed to contact someone and ask them to be a guest on this show. I'm going to contact priority athletes and see if we can get them to be a guest on the show, because I would love to talk to Taylor and talk to his agent and just, to find out more about his story, because this is a big jump. And what are the odds that priority athletes is able to get him an invite to the combine? Combine is in April. It's almost the end of January. So I'm definitely going to reach out to priority athletes and see if they will, accept an invite to be a guest on our show and bring Taylor on. And let's talk about this journey the decision and the journey that he has in front of him to make an NFL roster. Because I'm rooting for him. I'm not going to root against him. Even though a lot of people may feel like he's making a big mistake, it's his decision. And because he reps an HBCU, I would love to see him. Because, hey, my Kansas City Chiefs, like I said, we're going to the Super Bowl. We are running back by committee. If he can run the ball, if he can block, if he can catch the ball out the backfield, Andy Reid will find a spot for him. Your New Orleans Saints, Sean Payton has made it his goal to find unique players. And the Saints have a history of drafting out of HBCUs and drafting out of Division II schools. They find the small school prospects and turn them into NFL stars. So your team and my team have a track record for drafting small school or signing small school talent, and they end up making our squad. So hopefully they'll choose to come on. I think that would be a good interview, good conversation to have with them, Kel. What you think about that?
I think that would be. I think it would be. So let's roll on into these donations. So we all know when donations come, we appreciate them. And right now we just knock on the door of Charles Chuck Barkley. Charles Barkley has made he made another big donation. This is his fourth donation. Now, I did. Of course, I followed it from the time, and it's going back to 2016. 2016, Charles Barkley made a $1 million donation to Alabama A&M and also to Clark Atlanta. In 2017, he made another $1 million donation to Morehouse, and then just recently, he made another $1 million donation to Miles College. So that's $4 million. The funny thing is when Charles made the first donation to Clark Atlanta and to Alabama A&M, that was in 2016. I need people to understand, I was a journalist then. I was writing for the African American Athlete because I remember writing a story on that. And I was going back to it, and I was like, oh, wow, I remember covering that. I did a story on that. But at this time, seriously, it's just really, it's just monumental. Like, it's really monumental that, Miles College is a private school. Of course, it's in Fairfield, Alabama, which is right outside of Birmingham. It's 122 years old. And guess what? For people that don't know, Charles Barkley is from Leeds, Alabama. So that's about 40 minutes. Miles College or Birmingham is about 40 minutes from where he's from. So he has, we're like, okay, he's digging in his pockets. We asking everybody else to dig in their pockets, like, dig deep. But I think this is a monumental thing. And I think when you have athletes like this that have no connection with the universities, but they're giving money, it's a great thing. What do you think?
I have been a fan of Charles Barkley, even though he did not play for my Bulls for a very long time. I have admired his personality. I have admired his wit as an athlete and as a sports broadcaster. But when I saw that he was choosing to donate to HBCUs, it touched my heart. Charles Barkley is a very controversial figure in sports. But what he's doing now is showing people that he has a heart and he cares about HBCUs. And that's something that a lot of, I guess you can say, millionaires, we can't say that about them. I mean, we have our fair share of millionaires who donate. But someone like Charles Barkley, who has really no connection, he's an Auburn graduate. But he's donated to 4 HBCUs, 2 in Georgia and 2 in Alabama. And I'm hoping he keeps it up. Charles Barkley, please put Mississippi Valley State on your list. We are in dire need of that $1 million. I'm not going to be like TLC. I ain't too proud to beg. Send us that $1 million. Continue your HBCU support for my alma mater. Send it to Southern too. I want Southern to get it too, Kels. Jackson State. This is what I would like to see. I would like to see other, I guess you can say, philanthropic athletes donate to HBCUs. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say that you shouldn't donate to your alma mater because you should give back to your alma mater. But when you choose to give to an HBCU, like President Knight said, he helps lay the foundation for financial campaigns. We need assistance laying the foundation. Morris Brown is another HBCU that I would love to see philanthropic athletes or just African-American philanthropic entities donate to, because Morris Brown needs financial assistance. So Charles Barkley is known as a person who talks the talk. I'm so glad he's talking the talk and helping donate to HBCUs, Kels.
I am too, and it's great when you see people like that giving back to HBCU. So once again, congratulations. Big up to him. I said the same thing. We'll send you the address. Just don't pass us by. But it is, once again, it's a great thing, that he is doing what he is doing. We are just super excited for that. And to say that you've gone to not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 different HBCUs says a lot. So let's hop into, we've had a couple of football changes from 2019 to 2020. And most of those come on the side of the SEAC, which is very interesting. Mm-hmm. 4 different college coaches changes. Benedict, Coach James Mike White, Central State, which is Coach Cedric Pearl. Fort Valley had Kevin Porter, which Maurice Flowers would take over. Howard had Ron Prince. Lane had Derek Burrows. And Ben Brown is going to, if I'm not calling him, Byron Brown, I'm sorry, is who is going to take over for Lane College, which is somebody that I know is connected to him. So for people that don't know,
Lane has filled their position for head football coach?
They actually, the day that they announced, effective immediately, they put Byron Brown, which was, I think he's been there 3 years, which is a Grambling alumnus, is who's in right now. Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yep. So what happened was I say they just moved him down, but he's a position coach, and so what happened is, so Byron. So what happened was he was assistant football coach, but they put him as the head coach effective immediately. So that following day they put him in as the head coach effective immediately. So that's what's going on at Lane College. And then of course at Livingstone you got Darrell Williams that was there, and then at St. Augustine you had like Tim Chabot, and then David Bowser is who took over. So it's a lot of coaching changes that have gone on in there. And it's tough being an HBCU coach. It's tough being a coach in HBCUs. It's tough being an African American coach, period. But there's been a lot of coaching changes, and it's been a lot of coaching changes. And I'm just hoping, I'm really, really hoping that one of the things, like I said again, with Byron Brown, I'm hoping that this can be a breath of fresh air with Lane, because I think I've looked at a couple of coaching changes with them, and I'm just hoping it can be a breath of fresh air. Of course, with Central State, I know Cedric Pearl will land on his feet. For people that don't know, he's been through the SWAC as well. So, I think he spent maybe 9 or so years at Alabama A&M. So it'll be a breath of fresh air to see where these people end up.
I agree with you, and I'm just kind of, it's great to see we didn't have any coaching changes in the SWAC, our home conference. There also were none in the MEAC. So that means every coach that was competing for an opportunity to take his team to the Celebration Bowl will be back to try again. And you want to have some stability in your coaching profession, especially for your programs. So hopefully once these HBCUs settle on who they want to lead their programs, they give them time to implement their programs and try to change the fortune of their program. So, this coaching carousel, as I like to call it, round and round you go. Where it stops, sometimes no one knows. So,
correct.
I guess we'll see how these coaching searches end up. It's January. Signing day is in a few weeks. So you want to go ahead and try to finalize who you're going to have to lead your program, so they can start preparing for the season. Because even though NFL football is in its twilight, college football for us has been over for a while. College football for FBS is over. Spring football will be here soon. When the birds start chirping and grass turns green, it ain't going to stay green long, because you're going to have football players out there churning up the football field as they get ready to start the season. So, football season just ended. I'm already ready to see if my Delta Devils can improve upon last season. If we're going to get some transfers. Maybe Kaylee Newton might be merciful and come to Itabena, Kels.
Yeah, I doubt it. So,
wishful thinking.
What's going on? So we're going through the HBCU legends, part of the centennial slate of the 2020 NFL Hall of Fame. Now, of course, this is merciful and it's very exciting to me. It's a breath of fresh air, because if you look at it, we had 2 HBCU graduates. Of course, one of them is out of my alma mater, Harold Carmichael. And then, of course, you have Donnie Shell. So those 2 athletes alone, it just makes you happy to see that. And I can't lie to you, it's been a long time coming. I think as soon as I announced, I think everybody was like, it's about time. It's about time. It's about time. That's all. Everybody was like, it's about time, but congratulations. But it's about time. Right. So this was a long time coming. And it's so funny watching David Baker, he's making these announcements when he makes these announcements, when he called these people, it was just good to hear Carmichael talk about Southern. You know, it's something about when they talk about your schools and you like, oh, it takes you back to your alma mater, it takes you back to your undergrad days. You're like, oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. But to hear him talk about it, it's just a great thing. And again, you have, you know, Harold Carmichael was a wide receiver from 19. Now listen how long ago this was. 71 to 83 with the Eagles and 84 with the Dallas Cowboys. Johnny Shell was a safety from 74 to 87 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So these are two well overdue, should have been in. What do you think?
Well, you also have to remember we have a third one also, Winston Hill, out of Texas Southern. He has been waiting 38 years, but he would be inducted.
1977 Los Angeles Rams. Right. Lord, see, even more dated. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's going to be inducted posthumously after 38 years of, you know, being eligible for the Hall of Fame. He won't get the chance to enjoy this moment. Like I said, I want to congratulate all three of these HBCU legends for being inducted to the Hall of Fame. In my opinion, it's long overdue. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I understand they want these first ballot Hall of Famers like Randy Moss and all of them to get into the Hall of Fame. But these are young men. They can wait. Induct these legends, especially the HBCU legends. And the subtopic of this that I wanted to talk about was, should the HBCU legends have their own division of Hall induction? Because we have modern and we have the senior. But our HBCU legends are often overlooked. Look how long it took for Harold Carmichael to get into the NFL Hall of Fame. I mean, he was one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, you know, to get into the Hall of Fame. Donnie Shell, a safety that would hit you and, you know, hey, if he hit you in today's NFL, they throw him out the game, you know. And Winston Hill, an old school offensive lineman, I mean, he was 270 pounds. You know, that's small for an offensive lineman in today's NFL. But he was a tremendous player, you know. So, Kels, and I wish PP was on so we could have had a third point of view. Should the NFL, because and then, you know, last year we had the HBCU Hall of Fame celebration where they gave kudos and praise to all of the HBCU legends that are in the Hall of Fame. But just think about back in the old days, HBCU players were the stars of the NFL.
Right.
I mean, you have guys who should be in the Hall of Fame that are overlooked. I don't necessarily know it's because they went to HBCUs or you have this push for first ballot modern day superstars or what. But in my opinion, I feel like we should have an HBCU division of the NFL Hall of Fame to give kudos and praise and honor to the HBCU Trailblazers who deserve to rightfully be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. What do you think about that, Kels?
I think it would be a good thing, but we also have to be mindful that you don't want to make a separation. Yeah. And even though, you know, I understand what you're saying, but I don't want it to be like, okay, they let you in, but it's like a special section because it's HBCU. No, because every one of those guys earn the same merit. They're on the same merit. They earn their way into it the same way. So, like you said, they want to, you know, you want your first ballot. We get that. You want your first ballot in. That's totally understandable. But you also have to look at, you know, the other guys. You can't deny. And I was in the beginning of this game. I was watching. I saw Jerry Rice. I watched Jerry Rice on TV, and sometimes I just go back through and looking at all these old films and looking at the top, 150 years, looking at 100 years and looking at how games started back in the 1800s. And, you know, we get like this small little segment, and I don't want to harp on this because we got other stuff to do, but you look at this small segmented piece of football where they say, okay, this is about HBCUs, and they give you like this really, really small thing, and you look at Archie Cooley, and you know it's different things that have been for you. You look at rules, like Mel Blunt, how things were actually formulated behind these HBCU athletes, and then you get people that really just don't completely give credit for it. So it's like, you got to give the due just to the people that done what they did. You have to do it.
Right.
Like
Right.
you look at the Dunny Shells, you just go, you look at the Doug Williams, you look at the Aeneas Williams, the Jared Rice, exactly. And you're like, oh, so we not, they just don't talk about these things. And it's like, somebody made the comment that I was not too privy of. He said, he saw Doug Williams being promoted, and he said, oh, that sounds like a plush position of demotion. And I said, where we sit at, and Jared Rice is on TV jumping up. I said, where we sit at, it's not a demotion, it's a promotion. I said, it's any time we have one of us sitting at the table, we know we did it. I said, I can't tell you how many times Doug has probably stuck his neck out for one of our athletes, because as long as he's at the table, we're going to be at the table. So we don't, a lot of times, people just don't tell the story, and it's a time. It takes a while for us to get there, but slowly but surely we're getting to where we need to be, and they're getting into the Hall of Fame. It's taking them a while, but they're making their way into the Hall of Fame.
Right.
So let's go ahead.
I was just going to say, since you brought up Doug definitely deserves to be in the NFL Hall of Fame for the trailblazing path that he started. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame for that feat alone. Now we can move on.
Okay, so let's go into this, because this was supposed to be the highlight of what I was going to talk about. North Carolina A&T, they offer basketball scholarships to teammates. Bronny James, for people that don't know, of course, it's my cousin, LeBron James. As I say, it's LeBron James' son, Zaire Wade.
You said that's your cousin.
Sons of LeBron James and Dwayne Wade. So that's Zaire and Bronny James, their sons. So right now, North Carolina A&T has offered basketball scholarships to both of them. That's the running joke that LeBron is my cousin. That's the running joke that I have.
I was about to say, tell LeBron to send me to the Super Bowl.
No. But, of course, now Bronny James is a freshman point guard. He's currently listed as a 2-star recruit. And, it says he has medium interest in the offer. Of course, Zaire Wade is a senior point guard and listed as a 3-star recruit. And it says he also has medium interest in the actual offer over from North Carolina A&T. They also offer Shot Odom, which is the son of Lamar Odom. He's a 6'4" with multiple offers, of course, from Boston University, Tulane, and Georgetown. We don't know where they're going, but of course, North Carolina, all those other people would love to see them. But right now, North Carolina A&T, they stepped up to the punch. They ain't being no punks. They're like, hey, we're going to offer these kids scholarships, medium interest. What do you think? Because we know with these two names, especially Bronny, these are name changers in the game. These are name changers at HBCUs. And for people that don't know, when you get people, like I spent a lot of time at Morehouse and Clark. Morehouse and Clark have a lot of, and I know for a fact, I think Dwayne Wade, but they have a lot of former NBA athletes that come into their programs and work with their athletes. They have a lot of NBA players that come in. Ben Wallace has come in. I know I've seen Dwayne Wade. It's been a couple of people shacking him over there. So they come in and work with these programs. But with these two type calibers, what do you think this would do for HBCUs as a whole because of the names and because of you got a 2-star and a 3-star? What do you think would happen if they do commit to North Carolina A&T?
I think it would be awesome if they committed to an HBCU. I remember when I first saw this, I was like, yeah, that's going to get the buzz going around these two HBCU programs. Because first off, no one thinks that either of these young men would consider an HBCU. But here's the thing. HBCUs are considering you. it doesn't cost anything to offer a scholarship. So, like I said, I saw NCCU offer Bronny, and the Aggies, being the chief rival, they said, okay, well, we're going to do you not one but two better, offering 3 sons of NBA players, Lamar Odom, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron James. If they were to go to HBCUs, I think that would be a coup, simply because of who their fathers are. Also, when it comes to sons playing the same sport as their famous fathers, going to bigger schools does not often work out. In some cases, the younger or the sons are not as talented as their fathers, and they don't end up going to the NBA. I'm talking about Michael Jordan's sons. They both went to division, I guess you can say, PWI schools, and they had decent careers, but imagine had those 2 young men went to an HBCU, and to have the likes of Michael Jordan supporting an HBCU, just the clout we would get from having Michael Jordan support an HBCU. If any one of these 3 young men decided to accept the offer to attend HBCU, I guarantee it's going to be one of the most, I guess you can say, exciting times of their lives, because they get to go everywhere they want. They live the high life, but going to an HBCU is going to give you a sense of culture, a sense of home that you're not going to get at some of those bigger schools. So I would love to see them commit and sign and play ball at an HBCU, be it NCCU or North Carolina A&T. I think other HBCUs need to get into this. I mean, keep it going. I mean, let's get some SWAC schools. Let's Southern offer high-profile players. Let's let Jackson State, Grambling, other SWAC institutions, and also MEAC institutions get into the ball game of offering high-profile recruits, because all you have to do is offer. Kelsey, we also have a college that just called, and oh my, Kel, this is someone who we definitely would love hearing from. This is Eric Jackson Jr., my fraternity brother. Outside of him being my fraternity brother, he's also the head basketball coach for the Russ College Lady Bearcats, who have started out undefeated in GCAC play. Coach Jackson, how's it going?
Hey, what's going on, man? Thank you for having me. How y'all doing?
Oh, we're doing all right.
Yeah, and how are you?
So
I'm making it, man. It's so cold right now, man. It's about 20 degrees out here, man. I'm trying to stay warm.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, it is. It's cold. So since you're on, I guess it would just be fitting for you to take us out. You'll be the final words of the show. Since your last, tell us how your season is going. Tell us how your season is going, and I know you're on a high right now.
Yeah, we're playing pretty well right now. It's definitely been a roller coaster season. We started out with about 15 girls, and playing well, and we had some changes in the roster, and so I played my last couple of games with about 7 players, and we added a couple of kids over the Christmas break, and that recruitment trail was good to us, and so we got some really key pieces to come in and help us start this GCAC run. So we're really excited about their potential as they continue to build chemistry with one another, and not only for this year, but for years to come as well.
So explain that to me. After the season started, you were still adding players to your squad?
Well, I had to, because I had some players decided to rearrange the priorities and and all that kind of stuff, and so they wanted to put basketball on the back burner a little bit, which sometimes it happens, especially when you play basketball since you're 5 or 6 and it's so time demanding. And that's kind of like the negative, in terms of recruiting people to go to an HBCU. You give them that HBCU experience and all it entails with, the camaraderie with your fellow students and the Greek life and the and all the other stuff. And sometimes as a student athlete, you don't get an opportunity to experience all those other things because, quote unquote, you are the entertainment, you know. And so sometimes, you know, you want to, especially if you're a part of, you know, basketball and you're a part of another organization or two, you know, you kind of get pulled in 3 or 4 different directions, and you know, so you got to make a tough decision. So, you know, it's no love lost there, you know, and we gonna keep rolling, and you know, the show must go on, and we've been rolling ever since, man. Over the break, it was some kids that I reached out to that was sitting there and wanted an opportunity, and the opportunity presented itself, and so I guess we were a match for each other, so to speak.
So were these young ladies already enrolled at Rust, or were they looking for somewhere to go and play? Two were already enrolled at Rust, one of which I was expecting to play in January. That was my 6-foot guard. And my other kid, there was another kid who I didn't know that was coming at all, who actually has potential to be a really good college basketball player. And then I got another kid that was a hometown hero, so to speak, to come back home and run point guard for us. So we're really excited about that. So like Keisha said, I'm going to shut up. Go ahead and talk about your awesome start to this season, because what you're doing, putting a team together like you're doing and still winning, and this is your second year, correct, at Rust?
Well, this is my second year in the conference, but my third year overall.
Third year, okay. Go ahead and tell us about the season so far.
Like I said, it's been a roller coaster. You know, ups and downs. I will definitely say we had more highs than lows for sure. One of our greatest times that we had this year was, you know, we wanted to compete on a national level, and so we played a national schedule, and we played Bethel University out of Bethel, Tennessee, who's ranked, I think right now they're probably ranked about 11 in the country, but at the time we played them, they were 16th, and you know, we played them the first time, and we were up 5 or 6 with a couple of minutes left at their place, and kind of let the game slip away, and then we got a chance to redeem ourselves probably 2 weeks later. And we ended up beating them in double overtime at our house. So that kind of really made the national raters and everything on the NAIA scale kind of say, oh, wait a minute, you know, they're for real. You know, because last year, you know, we won 20 games, but it was like, you know, basically the general consensus was you didn't play any ranked teams. So, you know, you're just average, so to speak. You're not the worst, but you're not elite yet. And so we're trying to make that that jump from going from good to elite. And so to do that, you got to play that top-notch schedule, you know. And so we tried to top off our first half of the season playing Hardwood University, who was preseason ranked number 1 in the country. But as I mentioned, they didn't get the full-fledged Rust College because I only had about 7 players playing at the time we played them. And they are a really, really, really good basketball team. And so we didn't play our best, and so we ended up losing that game. And so, but those are our only 2 losses so far in the season.
Right. So, but if they played you now, you think you can knock them off?
I would love the opportunity to get that rematch. I would love it, and I'm sure my girls would love it too.
Yes, indeed. Well, man, Mob, and I know you took a trip to was it the Virgin Islands?
That is correct.
Tell us about that trip, who you played, and I saw some of the pictures on social media. Talk about that trip and just how your girls came together as a team and how they, you know, some of the sights and sounds that they saw, because most of those young ladies probably have never been out of the, you know, I guess, you know, even though the Virgin Islands is one of our territories, have never been off of the mainland.
That's correct. That's correct, man. They had a great time, man. We just actually had an opportunity, man. I knew the guy at the University of Virgin Islands. Me and him had talked about playing because, believe it or not, the University of Virgin Islands is an NAIA school as well. And, you know, and I was like, you know what? I know he needs home games. So we talked about it and everything. And he decided to put a nice little package for us together to kind of give us some incentive, you know, with us being a small black school, to come down there and play him. And, man, he helped pay for our flights and our hotels, man. And, you know, I just want to give a personal shout-out to the University of Virgin Islands because, like you said, you know, a lot of these kids don't get an opportunity to travel outside the state that they're from if it wasn't for basketball, let alone outside, you know, like the mainland, like you were talking about, if it wasn't for basketball. And they got an opportunity to do that at a small HBCU. Most of the time to get on a plane for basketball, you got to go play at, maybe a D1 or a really high-level D2 school, especially in the middle of the season. We're not talking about going to, a national championship or something like that.
Right.
So, and it just so happened to work out that since they were playing for the flights, they also helped us cover the hotels as well, man. And what happened was, since they were paying for the flight, they kind of dictated when we left and when we came back. And so we played on Saturday, but we left Friday morning, and we didn't go back until Tuesday morning. So they had a nice little trip right before Thanksgiving break.
Well, who knows? Maybe you can make that an annual thing, heading over to the Virgin Islands to give your team an exposure as far as playing abroad and just the culture that they can experience and I guess embrace visiting the Virgin Islands. I mean, pack me up a bag. I want to go too, Frat.
I know that's right. I had so many people on staff, man, asking about, man, say, hey, I want to be your chaperone. Can I be your chaperone?
Just let me be the trip IT guy.
Exactly. I take all the pictures, Instagram, everything. I put it on there.
Yes, and the Kels.
I have nothing else. No, I have nothing else.
Well, Fred, I want to thank you for calling in and catching us up with the Rush College Lady Bearcats. I'm going to hope that you continue your winning ways because, I mean, not only is Rush College in my home state, I mean, like I said, they're coached by one of my fraternity brothers. So I would definitely like to see you continue your winning ways and continue building on the team that you have built because it's kind of hard to put a team together that you put together and continue winning. And that's something that you have been able to do. So kudos to you, Frat.
Man, I appreciate it, man. Again, I thank you guys for having me, checking in one more time, and allow me to, to put my school's name out there so these kids can hopefully get that recognition, man, and understand what they're doing is really important, not only just for them and their team, but their community and just HBCUs in general,
Yes, indeed. All right, Fred. Well, check in with us anytime, and thank you.
All right, no doubt, man. You guys have a good one.
Yes, sir. All right, Kel, we got about right at 2 minutes left. What are your final thoughts on this week's HBCU action?
All right, so it has been a really great week. We are about to we're getting deep into SWAC play. We're about to go make a run, it looks like, for SWAC play. Again, before we get out of here tomorrow, I will be at Clark Atlanta versus Savannah State. Savannah State just broke a six losing streak on yesterday with their men's basketball. So they're getting ready to make a run. And it looks like Clark Atlanta is peaking at the right time. So right now, tomorrow, that's where I will be. And then, of course, the big game, the big rivalry of the weekend would be Morehouse and Clark Atlanta, which I will cover on Saturday, the 25th, along with that's the same day as Battle of the Bangers.
Yes, indeed. And my final thoughts, I got a chance to watch some HBCU basketball last week. Got a chance to see Southern take on Grambling, and Southern had a big lead and let them Tigers come back. I would have loved to have seen Southern hang on for their victory. And I also want to give a big shout out to Jackson State Lady Tigers head coach Tamika Reed. My homegirl, she has her Lady Tigers playing awesome basketball. They have started off conference play 5-0. They also visited here in Baton Rouge and left with a victory. But the men made up for it. The Southern Jaguars defeated Jackson State. So it was good to see Tamika. It was my first time seeing her coach since she has been the head coach of Jackson State. And I hope she continues her winning ways, except when she plays against my Delta Devils and Lady Devilettes. But unfortunately, the way Jackson State is playing, we don't want to see Jackson State. They are playing tremendous basketball. Kels, again, I want to thank you for allowing me to be on Black College Experience with you, allowing me to grow with you, help make this podcast and Black College Experience what it is today. And it's 2020. I've been working with you now, going on 4 years. We're in our season 3 on Spreaker, and when I started out with you, we were on Talk to Me Radio, I think. So
yep, Talk to Me Sports Radio.
Talk to Me Sports Radio. So I want to give kudos to you. Just allowing me to learn from you, allowing me to express myself, because hey man, it's an honor and a privilege to work with you and just help bring Black college experience to the masses, because believe it or not, like you always say, the future is female and your future is bright.
Thank you. And I do. I can't thank you enough. Thank you for the compliments. The same thing with BJ. BJ had the same compliments for people that don't know. Same thing with BJ. A lot of people don't know. I brought BJ into media. Same case scenario. A lot of people don't know that, but I brought BJ into media as well. And I still remember having a conversation with BJ, and I still remember he was at UNA at the time. I think this was 2016, and we look at where BJ is now. And a lot of times sometimes we don't get the recognition, and a lot of times people don't give you the recognition, and they don't give you the due justice. So I do appreciate, when people do recognize, hey, this is where I started, this is what I've done, and this is where I come from. And a lot of times people, they solely assume that they really do. They think the Black college experience is strictly male. They think that it's all male, and I
love it when you correct them. It'd be so funny.
Tell people, it's just, I'm like, this is just not a male. It's not all male. And I thought about putting the picture of us up. It's like, okay, they will see, but it still doesn't. But, that's neither here nor there. We're looking forward to a great week coming up in Black college sports. So, again, we're going to see who the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be playing at Super Bowl. And right now, the Packers are down 0-27.
Like it's really going to be a red and gold Super Bowl.
Right. So, all right, that's our time. We will see y'all next week. Good night.
Good night.